F. Scott Fitzgerald is credited with saying, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." Now, most marketers are holding dozens of ideas in their minds, many of which are in opposition. And then these poor souls are expected to be creative and thoughtful amidst all of this. I experience it. The people that attend my seminars and workshops experience it, and I believe it is a barrier to the culture of experimentation in marketing, in product development, and more. These are the things I talk about. Now, I can bring book authors and consultants and titans of industry on the Intended Consequences podcast any day, but today, I want to help you step outside yourself. Carl Jung defined projection as our tendency to project subconscious thoughts onto other people. He believed that studying our thoughts about others would lead us to breakthroughs in our own life and work. I want to help you see your own challenges through the eyes of another marketer like yourself, or like the people on your team. It is difficult to see ourselves in motion, so you're welcome. Welcome to Intended Consequences, a podcast from Conversion Sciences. I'm Brian Massey, and I believe that anyone is capable of using behavioral science to predict the success of their marketing campaigns. Marketing magic is real, and I'll teach you how to harness it.
Just do it as we always do it, and that assumptions was a big part of what restricted us then, I think, from branching out.
Erin Collis has a lot on her plate, as I suspect you do. Erin is Marketing and Communications Manager at Corradi USA. That's spelled Corradi. I picked her almost at random to join me and talk about the challenges of being a digital marketer in 2019. She attended one of my full-day workshops, but we aren't going to talk about that. Instead, I want you to listen to the advice you would give her. My guess is that this advice is exactly what you need. So as you listen, pay attention to what you're projecting onto our conversation. Would any of these thoughts apply to you? And as always, stick around after the interview for my When You Get Back to the Office segment. I believe that design is fundamentally changing. I think so much has gone digital that for most businesses, we're really going digital first. Give me an idea there at Corradi. And you know what? You should probably spell the name of the company, because I know a lot of the listeners are like me thinking karate, the ancient Japanese art of self-defense.
That's a common misconception. It's spelled Corradi, Corradi. Just think of it with an Italian accent, Corradi. In Europe, it's very well known because of the retractable roofs and awnings. In Europe, people spend a lot of time outdoors. And so having an awning or a screen or a retractable roof, that's commonplace. It's everywhere there. Here in the U.S., people spend a lot more time inside. And it's a market that's still kind of in its, for lack of a better word, infancy state, because of how much time people here spend indoors.
Well, and especially here in Texas during the summer, we like our air conditioning, don't we?
Yeah, we do. It's definitely something that's necessary here. When I was over there this last January, it was so nice and so beautiful outside. But also, even in Europe, I've heard they go outdoors just whenever, because there's not a whole lot of space. You know, you go into a restaurant and the restaurant is the size of a closet and there's 20 people inside. They want to open as much space outside. Whereas here, especially in Texas, there's a lot of space, so you can kind of spread out, or you can facilitate more people inside.
It's a little ironic. The more space we have, the less spreading out we do.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, tell me a little bit about how much, in terms of when you're going to market, how much of your current mix is print, advertising, what I'm going to incorrectly call analog style. Do you do radio? Do you do TV? And how much of it is digital? And when I say how much, I'm interested both in kind of a workload standpoint and also impact on the business.
we're a B2B company. We don't sell directly to end users. We have a network of dealers, like car dealerships have their networks of dealers, but you're never directly dealing with Ford. You're dealing with Sam, what's his face. I would say we're a lot more online than we were before, but it's more so with our website. We've got that up and running, although that's being rebuilt. Like right now, we're not touching it because we're working with Italy to rebuild it. But we do a lot of print, and we do trade shows are a big thing for us right now. We design a booth and we send people out to trade shows, especially ones that directly deal with architects that can build our systems into their design, because we want them to know that, one, that it exists, and that it's a beautiful product that we want to get out. And while we're there, we collect leads, but we do have a lot of print. We have a lot of brochures. We have a lot of flyers, and we do the totes and the pens. We do some magazine advertisements, but we're not seeing, like you say, with radio and TV and all that whole, it's difficult to measure that ROI to see, from these magazines. We can't see what's happening with them or if they're even making an impact.
Is it really making people more aware of your products?
Right. And we're still in discussions of how to move forward with our digital marketing because we don't do a whole lot of it right now. We do some social media. It's something we're making more and more consistent, but right now that would be me posting it. Whereas we have tried some agencies in the past to try to cover social media, but the responses we got on it weren't proving ROI. Like the data that was sent to us, we couldn't understand, and we didn't see any uptick in sales or recognition with these specific companies.
And I think any folks in the agency should be listening, because this is something that we hear too. Now, we get called at Conversion Sciences when folks are exactly trying to understand better what's working and how they can make it work better. And I think, I talk about the things that I think data really does help, and agency relationships is one of those things. So if you are in an agency, I think this is something that you're going to you may not be hearing from your clients, but they're not understanding the data, they're not understanding the results. And I'll tell you, I think a lot of the time, agencies are still getting up the learning curve on data, how to use it, how to present it, how to interpret it, all of those things that I stand on stage and present about.
Yeah. When I went to the Digital Summit this last fall, it was just after we had hired an agency for a few months as a trial for our social media and content. And we were really excited about it. For us, it was to get approval for the investment. It's something we'd never done before. And they posted on social media and on our blog and everything for us. And we went through, went back and forth on content and everything. And they would send a report at the end of every month. But it was a report that didn't correlate to what our sales were. It didn't let us understand our business and how this was helping our business.
We talk about the bottom line metrics that we're ultimately held to, and I assume that you've got a set of objectives that you're supposed to hit in terms of number of leads generated, number of sales, et cetera. And we always say that our favorite metric is the finance person's smile. If they're smiling, then we're doing a good job. And I think sometimes agencies or other internal teams lose sight of that. I'm curious if, and I'm certainly not here to throw stones at agencies or anything like that, but did they take ownership of any of the landing experiences, or did they simply say, look, we sent a whole bunch of clicks to your website, you're welcome?
Basically, they would say certain numbers are good, like, this many likes or this got this many click-throughs. But so far as a landing page, we didn't really have a landing page or a way to measure that other than our own, Google Analytics on our website that was already there.
You've got a business that is really built on relationships. And I think this is very interesting because it can be hard to build and maintain relationships digitally.
Yes. And I think so. Part of when I was bringing up the B2B, a majority of our business currently is offline business, but the value that we have to offer our customers, or that really makes them sick, which is our dealers, is offering them services, making it easier to sell the product.
And so I want to point something out, because this is an experience that I had as a marketer, and an experience I have in talking to other marketers. And it is that marketing is notoriously understaffed, under-resourced. And so what it means is a small number of people responsible for a large number of things. And so, we start talking about a particular problem, and it very quickly, there's a yes, but, and a yes, but. There are these other things that are being juggled in the minds of marketers that almost preclude focus. Talk to me, why don't you give us a quick summary of the projects that are in your mind jostling for attention at any one time?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our website redesign that we're creating, and basically, as well as our dealer loyalty program that's got to correlate with our website redesign, because I think probably the most important part of this whole redesign is going to be the back end, where a dealer can log in and price out their product online, as well as get technical documents, as well as get CAD files so that they can distribute that to architects. And
so this is more than a website. This is actually an application. This is a service application.
Yeah, there you go. And that's just a small part of the digital side. Also, we have our brochures are constantly being redone with a new look, which I'm the designer in-house as well. So I'm putting that together, as well as I do have a marketing intern for the summer. And she's assisting me on kind of figuring out this loyalty program. And she's doing surveys on the phone, which is very hardcore, old style, pound the pavement kind of deal. Part of the reason why she's doing that is because we've sent out surveys, and even to our own dealers, to we want feedback. We want to hear what they have to say. We'll send it out to like 300 or 400 dealers, and we'll hear back from 7 of them. So, and then we also have, the leads that come in, whether they're from our trade shows or we're doing a CEU course for architects, which we created this past year, that we get a bunch of leads in from those every week. And we've got to figure out the distribution of leads. We also have leads that will walk in. We're the headquarters and we have a showroom, but usually our dealers will bring in clients and stuff. But occasionally we'll have someone just walk in off the street that wants to look at an awning.
So already we've got a website, which so many of us see as a digital brochure, and it's absolutely not. This is software, especially the kind of website you're building, which is this is a SaaS application for your dealers. So you're responsible for managing pieces of that, a course, online learning of some sort, the usual print brochures, doing the research, having someone on the phone with clients, because yes, for dealers, it's just sometimes what you have to do. And the issues around having a physical bricks and mortar location to serve both dealers and customers, that's pretty extreme. And at the same time, majority of your resources, majority of the company overall are in Italy. And so they're driving technical specs and design specs and everything. So it's you and an intern basically here in the US?
Yeah, till the end of July, and then it's just me again.
So those of you listening, if you're complaining about what you've got to keep in your mind at one time, I think maybe you should think twice about that. No, absolutely not. And this is the problem. I'm afraid to ask, but how are you managing this sort of thing? Is it just hitting deadlines as best you can, And as a designer, there's got to be a certain bar for excellence that you hold yourself to. How do you carve out the time that lets you spend the time on those things that really do require you to kind of sink in and steep in your curiosity, your creativity, the research that you've got, the personas that you're trying to keep in mind? Any tips for how you're making it all work?
So it's time management is a big part of it. Making sure that you have everything in a list, as well as, so when I get excited about certain projects, or I always make sure I get something done. And sometimes it's just what it's supposed to be. But there are sometimes, like when you're creating a new brochure, or you want to really, or when you're creating the groundwork for something, like creating the workings on the back end of this website, which is something that I'm currently working on this week, just a list of everything that we want in there. That's when sometimes I'll just stay, because during the day, we've got an open office. We got a lot of people going in back and forth, a lot of talking. And so after 5, when everybody is just like, it's 5:00, spin the wheels, get out the door, I'll put my headphones on and just kind of to let me get into that mode of thinking in detail about this project and what it is, and really just caring about where it's going, what needs to be involved in it. And it, just occasionally I've got to pull those extra hours to get it done right.
We had Dr. Diane Hamilton on, and she's talking about creativity and curiosity, and primarily about curiosity. And, I realize that it's the end of the day, especially on Friday, when, the last of the people who are bidding for your attention fall away, and you can spend a couple hours chasing curiosity, doing an analysis that you are just curious about, even working on our own marketing and writing. Those are those golden hours. So time management and just putting the headphones on and booking a few more hours at the end of the day. I think that's probably the strategy that most of our listeners are facing as well.
Yeah, because you mentioned Dr. Diane Hamilton, and I listened to that episode and the whole curiosity code. I enjoy those moments when I can just let go and go down the rabbit hole, especially like when it's on an ad campaign, or just on, even in an Excel sheet, trying to figure out the numbers of this or that. But I think there's that whole fate, the fear assumptions, technology and environment. And with my type of office, the environment, it's pretty busy around there. So waiting till after hours helps me get away. It helps me get away from my environmental restrictions. Technology, I'm still trying to figure that out, because right now a lot of the data that I process internally for our marketing is through Excel sheets. And we're trying to figure out a CRM system. We have our IT company, which is overseas in Belgium, that they've built a CRM that's worked for other companies over in Europe, but over here it's a little bit confusing. So we're trying to figure that out. And then some of our team is calling for like Salesforce and other such CRM systems. But because we don't have one that's completely working for us yet, or that our team can understand yet, our technology is very limited in that. And then, there's always fear and assumptions, but I don't see those as very restrictive. Maybe the assumptions are restrictive with what others are assuming the department has the ability to do.
Well, let me ask a question. It might get you in trouble, so stop me. But why not go and ask for more people? Why not go ask for more resources? You're obviously doing a bunch.
Yeah, and I have, and we're working on it. Like I said, I got an intern for the first time.
Did you have to recruit and pick that intern yourself?
Yes.
So HR is another thing that you've got bouncing around in your head?
Well, yeah, I did have assistance and advice from our HR department. But yeah, I did go out to pick my own intern, and she's doing a great job. But it's definitely something that I bring up on occasion, and I think it's something that is definitely going to expand in the future.
what sort of a case do you make? Because we come in, we're talented. Obviously, you're able to do all of these things, and you feel like I need to show them that I can do these sorts of things. But when you say, okay, listen, we need more resources here if we're going to get all of this done, what sort of a case did you make? Did you use data? How did you make your case?
So basically, I will say we did change owners this past year, a little about a year ago, and so that's changed a lot of things in the way things are proposed. Because before that, it was just do it as we always do it, and that assumptions was a big part of what restricted us then, I think, and from branching out. And with the changes, we're able to propose a lot more. I mean, to try and expand and understand what we're doing.
Sounds like they might have a more mature budgeting process.
Yeah, and this last year we did a huge trade show that basically, and we were going to have some ambassadors from Europe come and visit, and so basically we put a lot of our effort into that campaign. And we actually did a lot of marketing, both digital and print, and created new graphics, new everything. And it went really well, which I think is why things are starting to expand. But again, we're still at the beginning of our journey of building a kind of a really big department, a really substantial department, I should say.
Just at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't want to focus too much on the difficulties and the downsides, although that is clearly why I brought you on the podcast. But talk a little bit about what you love about this role, and you've been doing it for a while, so you're obviously the kind of person that somewhat thrives, I guess, on a variety of changes. But I'm putting words in your mouth. Tell us why you love this job and why you continue to work in this. It's a difficult situation.
I absolutely love doing this because I mean, of course, there's the challenge of figuring this out. It's like stepping before a great big puzzle and figuring out how the parts work, and then putting them together and figuring out the communication. I mean, one of the things I really love, the kind of when I started, they gave me this big old folder that was just full of information about our products, but it was one of those things that, if you sat down at night and you tried to read through it, you fall asleep before you made it past the first few pages. And so what I like to do is kind of dive into that information, reorganize it, and kind of cook it down so that and recommunicate it so that people understand it, and that they're able to compartmentalize it. They're able to categorize, this product does this does that, and understand the differences.
Basic communication,
basically. I'm the marketing and communications person, so I asked them to add that to my title because that's what I really enjoy doing. And coming up with a campaign, especially when we have a new one, figuring out how, because we do have a lot of literature and copy that comes over from Italy that's translated, and some of it's translated just fine, and some of it not so much. It can get a little confusing, so we have to rewrite it the best we can, and figuring out how to rewrite this copy so that it communicates the same idea to our customers, because our market is significantly different, but still we're marketing the same product.
Well, I'm hearing something that I hear frequently, and that people in these roles generally like to add structure to chaos.
Yes.
And businesses, and I'll say it's true here, we're pretty good at creating chaos for people like you. So I have to tell you, I've had exactly the experience that I thought that I was going to have, and I, again, talking to even to large organizations or where there's a large team doing the marketing, it still boils down to this: everyone's doing lots of different things, and I think it's probably an unavoidable approach in marketing, just because there's so much that we can't do, especially in the digital realm, and we're dealing with human brains. They're They're qualitative, malleable, unpredictable, downright crazy. And so hats off to you for taking this on and doing all of these things. And I always appreciate people who are pulling things from the chaos and giving them structure. I found my discussion with Erin about creative time most interesting. When do you get to settle in and write or design or just get curious? For me, it's Friday afternoons and certain mornings that I delay coming in the office. But I realize I never put that on my calendar. I never carve out time to let the competing thoughts in my head quiet down and let my curiosity take the wheel for an hour or two. Do you do this? Should you do it more? Well, that's all this week, scientists.